Thank you. I think, yeah, the recording has begun. For this evening's student information webinar by Study Tasmania along with Australian Red Cross, I will be quickly presenting first about Study Tasmania and its initiatives for international students, which includes a lot of employability programs that we have, as well as student well-being programs. And then we will have with us Katie Pham, the project officer for Australian Red Cross Tasmania. And she has joined us to talk to you about ARC's resources and support available to international students, and also a bit about opportunities that there are by ARC for international students who would like to volunteer. And then we are also joined by Tu and Hamid, who are volunteers for ARC, and they were also international students. So they have a lot of relevant experiences that they would like to share with you. So we will keep questions to the end, but you can always use the chat function that's available on the screen to pop in any questions that you have at any moment in time. And in the end, I will go through the questions and put them to either Tu or Hamid or Katie, who are with us, or even for me. Or if we don't have time, we will take that on notice as well. So I will start off. Katie, could you please help me just making sure that you are still able to see my presentation?
Yes, I'm still seeing your
Perfect.
presentation. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. So I'll be very quick because I want this all to be about ARC and what they do. So quickly about Study Tasmania. A little bit about Study Tasmania to begin with. We are the Tasmanian government's study body for international education. And we do a range of activities. One of our main goals is to inspire and encourage more international students from around the world to consider coming to Tasmania to do their studies, because we do have a lot of world-class education facilities, including schools, university, TAFE, private RTOs. We work with all these institutions to reach out to potential students from across the world. And apart from trying to bring students here, a big chunk of what we do is also provide all international students with support activities, including employability enhancing training programs, student well-being, and also helping students have a little bit of fun, and also guiding them throughout the process of during their study as well as after their study. So a little bit about employability support programs that we do. The number one and my favorite, because this was one of my first projects, is the hospitality training programs. We provide free food and beverage making and handling courses to students. And this is exclusively for international students. This is done through Drysdale. So we offer courses like free responsible service of alcohol training, food and beverage handling, basic coffee making, and also basic bartending. I'm not going to say that, at the end of this one-day course, you're going to come out as a barista or a bartender, but definitely it gives you a foot in the door if in case hospitality is an avenue that you're looking at for employment, or whether it be for part-time or casual work while you're a student, or even to have a bit of fun with a group of friends that you have, because it really is a great bonding exercise. We offer free career coaching modules valued at over $1,000 to help students with their job search. This actually takes you right through the recruitment stages, including how to prepare a resume, where to look for jobs, how to address the selection criteria, and how to prepare for an interview, what kind of questions will be asked, how you can answer them, and so on. And in the end, you'll also get a chance to network with the other participants as well as industry members. We have the Regional Jobs and Help Network, as well as jobs support through Jobs Tasmania, which is another another government body that connects students to local employers, and they offer the Career Connector program as well. And we also host a few industry webinars where we get experts from each industry that's very popular with the international student cohort in Tasmania to explain to them, what employers are looking for, what kind of programs what kind of certifications that you should probably get, what makes you the ideal candidate. So it's like listening from the horse's mouth, because many of them are involved in workforce development in these particular industries. We have a lot of student well-being initiatives as well, many well-being webinars being the flavor of the season over the last 2 years, but we are really trying to, increase our in-person participation with the students as well. So keep an eye out on our events page as well as our social media. We also offer many student networking events. Keep an eye out. Again, we are planning a few for the rest of this year. And even this webinar, for example, is a student well-being initiative because we are trying to connect you with an organization like ARC, which is offering a lot of international student support and migrant support. So please make sure to share all this information with anyone, any of your friends who you might think might benefit from this. We also have the Student Ambassador Program. So if any of you are new students here in Tasmania, or if you haven't known about our Ambassador Program, let me tell you, we have a cohort for each year. And this is a 12-month program, which includes a range of activities and initiatives that support professional development for international students. So we have a lot of PD sessions, maybe 3 or 4 throughout the year. Our students, ambassadors, assist us with our projects and our events. They are part of many networking events with international delegations, as well as we are trying to do a few internship programs as well for the next cohort. So the recruitment for the next to 2024 program will open quite shortly, hopefully in late August or September. So keep an eye out for that as well, because this is a really competitive program. But all of our international students really benefit a lot from it too. That's pretty much my presentation before I hand on to Katie. These are all our socials and all the ways that you can get in touch with us. If you have any questions for me that you can't ask at this forum today, please write to us at study.tasmania@statebroad.tas.gov.au. It's the easiest way that you can get in touch with us and for the most immediate replies as well. And follow us on all our socials to keep an eye on our events and everything that's coming up. So I'll stop sharing now and over to you, Katie, if you want to share your screen.
Thanks, Nivi. And I believe Hamid is here.
Hello,
I've
Naveen.
I've made him, I've allowed camera and all of that. And
Yeah,
yeah,
perfect.
so
Thank
cool.
you.
All right, thank you. I'm just checking in if you could see my screen.
I can, yes.
Awesome. All right. Good evening, everybody. My name is Katie. Nivi has introduced myself already, and I'm the response coordinator for Tasmania, for Australian Red Cross here in Tasmania. I'm based in Hobart, and I'm from the emergency services team. So reason why I'm declaring that is that I'm going to try my best to give you an overview of all of the programs that Red Cross does offer in Tasmania. But I believe I've got my colleague here, Ali Dugan, who, if you have any questions on our migrant support program, we would I'm hoping Ali could come off mute if we have any questions on that. So um, before I get started, I would like to also acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land from which we are on today, the Palawa people of the Trilita Nation. I acknowledge their undying connection with the land, sky, and water that we benefit greatly from this connection. I'm grateful to be here and be accepted as a migrant to this land. I pay my respects to all the past elders and those who continue to protect this land and their communities today and in the future. I think I'm not going to go through the agenda again because Nivi gave you an overview of what we are going to go through. So let's just talk briefly on, so our deep dive today is on migration support program and emergency services, but I can't leave out the good work that our community programs are doing as well as our retail shops. So within our community program, we've got the Community Visitor Scheme or the Social Circles Initiative, which help elderly people overcome loneliness and improving their well-being through making social visits or making phone call to form a meaningful friendship with the participant. In our delivered meal program, and this is only in the northern part of the state. So throughout the presentation, I'll probably talk about northern versus southern part of the state. So northern means, areas in the Launceston areas, Burnie, Devonport, etc. So it's only offered in the northern part of the state, where meals, healthy, fresh, and frozen meals are delivered to people who probably cannot cook or who find it difficult to cook for themselves. You'll, so our the volunteer would also check in on our recipients when they're stopping by and say hi. So that's part of a quick wellbeing check, but also create that meaningful relationship with our participant. Our retail shops, you would see quite a few number of our Red Cross op shops throughout the state. I can only speak to, the op shop here on Elizabeth Street in Hobart. I do know we have a really good shop in Mulberry, in Infirmay, and every time I go to that shop, I ended up with a lot of clothes. But it's really, if you haven't been to one of our shops, it's a great find, as well as at a very reasonable price. Now, let's talk deep diving into our migrant support programs within our MSP, and I'm going to use a bit of abbreviations there. So within our MSP team, we've got bicultural health, or health in my language program. So these are two separate programs. Support for trafficked people program, connected women, family domestic violence financial assistance program. Now, bicultural health, and health in my language programs are present in both Hobart and Launceston. The bicultural health program empowers and educate, promote healthy habits within vulnerable migrant and refugee communities in Tasmania. So they help community navigate the health system. Say, for example, when I first moved to Tasmania, I mean, the system probably the same, as in Melbourne where I was, but it's actually quite hard for me to get an appointment, and I don't know how to, get certain test. And so I, having direct access to all these bicultural health worker, were able to get a lot of resources from them, but they are very willing to deliver these sessions to the general public and the community as well. Now, the Health in My Language program aims to address the barriers that migrant and refugee communities face in accessing information, that they need to make informed decisions about their health. And so both run in language health education sessions as well as plain English session to suit the migrants and refugee community of Tasmania. So you just hear, I'm talking a lot, but you would probably see quite a number of photos on the screen at the moment. These are the communities that we have delivered sessions in. Connected women, and sorry, I'm just going to go back quickly. If you want to be part of the program, either as a participant or as a volunteer, Carlos is your contact person, and throughout the rest of the presentation, you probably see contact details popping up as well. But if you have any question or you want these emails towards the end, just let us know in the chat. Connected Women is a multicultural women group to welcome and support women and children from migrant and refugee backgrounds, as well as local Australian women as well. So we really help, hoping to foster meaningful relationships and engagements of the women that participate in the program. It's co-designed by participants, so by that it means you join, then you decide what is it that you want to do. And we've got Chu in the south, which is Hobart, and Susan in the north, who facilitate the program. And the topics really varies between, health literacy, art and craft, cooking, excursion, educations. A lot of our activities are really child friendly, as you would see in one of those photos. The amazing food. We recently, I think Chu and Susan were working on a project where the ladies come with recipes of their traditional food. We put them together, and we are going to hold a launch of that cookbook. So stay tuned. You'll probably see a lot of that on our social media. And if you haven't already, we've got a Facebook page, Australian Red Cross Tasmania, where we do post a lot of these activities as well. So that's Chu and Susan contact details for you.
Sorry, Katie, do you mind if I just pop in really quickly with that one?
Yeah, that would
it's
be
Ali
great.
here. Hello, everybody. I'm from the Migrant Support Programs at Red Cross. I was just going to point out or just say that probably out of our programs, this Connected Women's program is a program that we are really looking for both participants, so people that are looking for connection and wanting to be part of a group like this. It's run on a Monday morning in, actually in both Launceston and Hobart. but also it's another program that we really are looking for volunteers as well. So I suppose I just would thought it might be a good idea to throw that in. Thanks, Katie. I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, that's all right. Please do jump in when I know I'm not the subject matter expert in MSP, Ali. You would be. So yeah, if I miss something, please do jump in. Okay, next one, Family Domestic Violence Financial Assistance Program is a program that is intended to support people who experience family violence on a temporary visa, so student visa, COVID visa 408, temporary graduate visa 485, working holiday visa 462, all of those temporary visa. If you know someone who's on those visa experience family domestic violence and experience financial hardship, you could contact Tessa. Now, the priority of this program is to link clients in with local specialist services, such as safety planning, legal, migration services. So we do work really closely with Women's Legal Service TASS and TASS Refugee Legal Service to ensure that clients are linked in with comprehensive legal support. A very common thing you hear people say is, I'm going to report you. I'm going to cancel, make sure your visa is cancelled and you're going to be deported. If you know someone who experienced that, please reach out to the team. We've got ways that we could support you, and financially assistance could go up to $5,000. And there's some of the practical support that we could provide include, supporting the client to book flights to return safely to home, move into stay, paying for rent, basic living necessity, medication, etc., and etc. Sorry. Going back, so Support for Trafficked People program is a program that provides assistance to all victims of human trafficking, slavery, and slavery-like practices. So if you go to work and your employer say you have to get this much in cash, it doesn't meet the minimum wage, and they're going to report you if you don't go, so that you get deported. Again, it's the same narrative. I'm going to report you. You have to work for me. You can't go anywhere. That most likely that's a slavery-like practice, is forced labor. So the program provides assistance to all victims of human trafficking and slavery-like practices. We'll have case manager who are responsible to support the client to access services to meet the needs. So medical, housing, counselling, skill development, and legal assistance. Recently, Red Cross also launched a Work Right Hub, which is a hub of resources and information. So, you as international student, when you go to work and you're suspicious of that, if you're questioning yourself, is this forced labor? The hub provides a lot of good resources for you to do a self-assessment, and as well as referrals or follow-up supports that you could access as well. So support is there for you. I know we've got questions at the end. So if you have any questions, please pop them in the chat, and Ali would be able to support you if you have any questions as well. Emergency services. We do have quite a few number of offerings as well. And so within the emergency services team, this is actually one of the programs where we probably don't have participant per se. We're calling out for volunteers, and we do need quite a number of volunteers across the state. So for our offerings, we do have the pillowcase programs. We deliver a range of resilience workshops. Now, resilience is a bit of a buzzword for me when I first started at Red Cross. Just to break that down, that is, how do you get prepared for situations that, is called emergency. So it could be a bushfire, it could be a flood, but also how you can quickly recover from it as well. So these range of workshops are delivered to individuals, members of the public, household, communities. So it is, we take a really community-led approach in our workshop. We send our volunteers on activations. Again, a bit of a buzzword. So activations mean we send you up to support communities that are impacted by some form of disaster, may it be natural disaster or a man-made disaster. And another unique offering we've got is an independent wellbeing check program. So just to go through a couple of the photos with you. So this is our pillowcase program. Now, the pillowcase programs is a 1-hour workshop that our volunteers do with year 3-4 student. In this workshop, we talk them through the process of, like acknowledging that emergencies do happen, and the strategy and tactics that they could follow to, first of all, be mentally prepared for emergency, but also how they could practically prepare for an emergency. So at the end of the workshop, as you would see there in the photos, the student go home with their very own pillowcase on which they have drawn a few things. So normally we said draw 6 things that you would like to pack in your pillowcase, so that when you need to evacuate, you can just grab quickly and go. And when I was new to Hobart, didn't know that we have bushfires, didn't know that we have floods. So we do have those natural disasters here in Tasmania. Touch wood. Having said that, we are the least impacted by natural disasters. I shouldn't say that. I work in emergency services, but those things happen, and it's important for the public and children alike understand how we could get prepared, and that's the purpose of the pillowcase program. So in the photos there, we've got a couple of our volunteers. Asmika, like you, was an international student, and she's been with the program for a couple of years. Resilience workshop. So we spoke a little bit about resilience, but just to break it down as just, advising that getting the public, or our clients in this case, or our communities, to understand that risks do exist and where can they get information about the risks that are relevant to them. So if you live in Moona or in Glenorchy, you're in a flood area. So how could you prepare your house or your content when a flood's happened? Or if you live in the Mount Nelson area, it's a bushfire, so bushfire prone area. So how would you get access to the latest updates on bushfire situation and all of that? And altogether, how can you get prepared and organized so that if you need to leave the house quickly, you can, and you minimize your loss and all of that. So these are the purpose of our workshop. So on the left-hand side there is our Jeremy, gentleman at the back there, volunteer, one of our volunteer going into Task TAFE to talk about this with a group of migrants from various background. And on the right-hand side is me delivering that workshop with about 16 international students in our Hobart office. So I think it's just me going through the ready plan with them and, getting them to do their own emergency plan. Activation is a really hard to explain concept, but in essence, say for example, something happened and like a natural disaster. So in this video, it is the context of it is the floods in Lismore earlier last year. We send teams to the impacted site. So when the resident need to evacuate, they go into an evacuation centre. So the role of Red Cross at evacuation centre is delivering psychological first aid. So that is the core of what Red Cross do. What Red Cross does in an emergency. So we deliver psychological first aid to the public who's recently gone through trauma. We support in various ways as well. It varies between the states. At some state, we do manage the evacuation centre on behalf of the Department of Communities as well. And so I'm just going to quickly play this video, and I really hope the sound will work. Nivi, would you be able to tell me if it's not working?
Sure, go for it.
We were all aware that there was going to be flooding.
Is that good?
It's all good. It's all good. Yeah.
This region has had flooding before, but nothing to the extent of what we've received. And I think everyone was taken by surprise.
We're here to help and to make sure that you get that help that you're entitled to.
Red Cross were there. We had so many beautiful volunteers providing psychological first aid. There were a lot of traumatised people who just, like I said, didn't expect it to come to this.
Being out there and seeing the devastation firsthand will really give us that sense of what we need to do, not only Red Cross, but other organisations around that have the resources to assist these communities, because these communities have been around for thousands of years. The lack of land, the loss of resources, like the natural foods and that the people go out and hunt and gather. But it's just that connection to community in general.
Everybody else has been so helpful, you know. Everybody. Getting us clothes or getting me clothes. Oh, there's a lot of people worse off than us, especially in Lismore. That went over their roofs, you know, where ours only went about a foot inside, and that was bad enough. So I just want to thank all the volunteers there. They've been marvellous.
So
We were all
what I've got on the screen here, I don't know why PowerPoint does that. It duplicates the slides, but on the left-hand side is, so in March 2022, during the Queensland flood, we sent 16 volunteers from Tasmania to Queensland in 3 different waves, covering at least a week, up shift working in what we call a recovery centre. And on the right-hand side here, is our team being sent to South Australia earlier this year during the floods that hit South Australia after going through New South Wales, Victoria, and then South Australia. So our volunteers not only get deployed or activated within Tasmania to support the community, the Tasmanian community. So like late last year, we went to Launceston to support Launceston and Deloraine, that so the two areas that were hit badly during the October floods. We also send our volunteer interstate to other states as well, if our volunteers have the capacity to, and if there's a need. So our range of work range from evacuation center, we talked about that, recovery center. We also do outreach. So outreach means door knocking on households that has been identified as being heavily impacted by most of the time natural disaster, but we do respond to man-made disasters as well, such as the incidents of the police shooting. Christmas time last year, we do respond to that and support it in the memorial management as well. And this is going to be the last program we talk about today. So the Independent Wellbeing Check program is a bit of a unique program within Australia Red Cross, more specifically within the emergency services team. So as indicated by the photo, this team of volunteers will also do psychological, so they will provide psychological first aid, but they do it via the telephone, or at the moment we're making calls via Microsoft Teams to our volunteers. So this group of volunteers on in the previous slides, now on the slides, once they have returned home after their shift, they will get a wellbeing check-in from this team, just also using psychological first aid principle just to check in on how they're doing, because like me, for example, in March last year when I went to Queensland, I can't count the number of photos of house destroyed, things need to be gotten rid of. Can't remember how many people I've spoken to that broke down and cry. And as people that listen to those stories, we are subject to vicarious trauma. So that's the role of this independent wellbeing check team, to check on the wellbeing of our volunteers, to ensure that they are doing okay, have access to support that they need, and are settling in all right. So which is why I think it's kind of a unique program, because you're supporting the supporter of the community. Right. Moving on to benefits of volunteering, which is kind of partially why we're here as well, is that you'll be part of a humanitarian movement. So Red Cross is a large humanitarian movement, not only within Australia, but we are international as well. There are 193 national societies, so you'll be part of a very big movement. You're making a huge impact on your local community. The power of just being there for the community. The number of times I've heard, thank you for being here. It's actually just by being available to support them when they need is already really significant for the community. You get access to a lot of our training resources. So not only you'll get the qualifications like psychological first aid qualifications, you will also get access to a lot of other trainings available to volunteers. So some of which will be agile methodology, how you run projects, and Microsoft Excel Advanced, so from intermediate to advanced, so just to name a few learning courses that would be available to you as well. You'll gain a lot of new skills, like I'll talk about me in a minute. You meet a lot more new people who end up being your mentor, your network, your supporter. You'll get volunteering certificate or statement of service, and you get invited to all of our volunteer events or celebrations as well. Now, circling back to pathway to employment and gaining new skills. So when I first started with Red Cross, I was a volunteer as well in a tele outreach program. So I remember it was in 2020, and we were making calls to people that are in quarantine as part of the COVID lockdown. And I hated talking on the phone before. I really hated it, hated public speaking. And I stepped outside of my comfort zone to do that because I know communication skills and pep talks are really important. And what better ways to gain the skill other than volunteering at the time? So I volunteered for the team, gain all of these experience working with other team members, working with the team leader at the time, and working on my communication skill. And then I got access to employment, and I then became a staff member who managed the very same program that I was volunteering in, and that was 3 years ago now. I'm still with Red Cross. So there are I'm not saying volunteering is definitely getting you pathway to employment, but all of the skills and experience gained are really valuable for you, not only as a CV item, but also things that you could elaborate on, because in Tasmania you'll be writing statement of selection criteria that would ask all of these questions that volunteering is a great way to have experience in that you could elaborate on. So that's enough of me talking, I think. I am going to probably stop sharing my screen, but just to introduce Hamid and True. So Hamid was and still is an independent wellbeing check volunteer. So he works previously in our tele outreach program, then transitioning on becoming an independent wellbeing check volunteer. So he's now currently an IT trainer at TASTAFE. And True, who has been an emergency services volunteer since 2021. She's been deployed, and you would have, this is the cut of the photo I've got earlier on from that photo of our team being sent to South Australia to support the community impacted by the floods. She's now a social worker for the Department of Education, Children and Young People. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen and kindly ask Hamid and Chu to go on camera, please. Probably start with Hamid.
Cool. Thank you very much, and thanks, Navy, for fixing that thing. I think it's just the way we set up Teams meeting or whatever. Cool. If you wanna go first, you can. Otherwise, I'll just go share my thoughts around that.
I'm really easy, so you can go first if you want.
Cool. No worries. I'll just quickly introduce myself. As you know, my name is Hamid, and I did work with the psychological support team as well. And then I've started in early 2020, and I volunteered in that tele outreach team as well. During that time, there was a lot of different programs need more volunteers, so there was opportunity to actually be part of one or two program at the same times, which I did. just utilize my time. And I just want to share is like it was really good for me at the time when I was still on visa and all those things, and I've completed my qualification and I need to complete a certain hours to get that qualification completed. And I reach on to like Red Cross. I just knocked their door and I just met a lovely lady called Deirdre. I think she was a registered nurse as well, and I'm not sure she's working still with Red Cross or not. And she just popped me into a program, and then after some weeks, I got another email. Can you also be part of this program as well? So for a year and a half, I did participated on and off to do two different programs, and that was really handy. And that led me to actually get like when I was applying for the jobs and always just have that background. I just put my Red Cross references there, and they're always there for me to just say, yeah, yes, good, which was really, really helpful, especially when it comes to applying for a permanent job. And that was like something because I have major studies around IT, and my aim is to just start applying from the test if I get it, then if not, then I might try something else. And being lucky enough, having that bit of exposure and experience working as a volunteer in two different programs, that really makes your human skills, you really get that polished. Plus you get a chance to actually work in a live environment, like an actual professional environment, uh, so which tick a lot of boxes at your end. And it's not only you get that, plus the support you consistently get from the staff. Like if you're working with one team member, your coordinator, whomever that is, you actually get, if you need a little help in like putting their name in their reference books, or you need a little hand to complete another qualification, or see, all those things, you always get that option. And the best part is when you put your name in, it doesn't mean you actually have to spend a certain amount of hours on a weekly basis or monthly basis. It's like, it's okay. Like these days, I'm really, really, from last couple of months, I've got newborn baby at home. So I'm all about like, it's all about the nappy changing time for me these days. So uh, I'm not putting much effort. Like it's hard for me to actually just, get the spare time, but I have that feeling, I have that connection still with them. Doesn't matter if I get a job, I still, and I really appreciate the team who always try to reach out to me and give me an opportunity to share whatever thoughts. And I think we've been lucky enough last year when our team won a little distinguished award as well in for 2021, I think, a teams award. That was really another thing. So all these things actually enable you to polish your skills, create a professional portfolio, and make all those reference links, which really helpful. And it's I'm one of the live example in front of everyone to, I'm working as a full-time IT teacher with their staff. And if I want to give a big shout out, that would be a backend, the sport and the learning and the exposure I have from the Red Cross. So I think I'll just, that's all I have to say. And thank you very much, Nivi, for fixing my mic. And thank you, Katie, for giving me an opportunity to share my thoughts.
Oh, thanks, Hamid. I think
Right.
what Hamid was talking about also is the flexibility of volunteering now. It's not the traditional volunteering where, oh, you have to give 10 hours a week, because we all know as international students, you're very busy. So take Connected Women at the moment, for example, volunteering for the Connected Woman might be 1 hour or maybe 3 hours. It's really depending on your availability. I'm sure Chu and Susan, if they were here, would totally agree that it's not a fixed commitment. It's quite flexible. So if you're free and you want, to do something meaningful and to engage in meaningful relationships, definitely go for the Connected Woman. And same for emergency services team as well. We do have a rostering system. We are not asking for fixed commitment. It's flexible and we work with your availability. So I see her nodding, because that actually is true. Cool. We'll go on to True.
Hey everyone, can everyone hear me? My name is Tu. I am now a social worker at school working for Department of Education. So my experience with volunteering was, well, during COVID pandemic, I started volunteering to do the telehealth check for people who was quarantined. And my initial intention was just to, doing some good deeds. And however, when I actually started the role, it was such an eye-opening experience for me, because I quickly realized that, all the skills that I was using in that volunteer role was so beneficial for me as a future social worker at that moment, from case noting to active listening, and also, just practicing being there and being present even through the phones. I found myself utilizing these ability effectively in the volunteer work. On top of that, when I decided to volunteer for the deployment to South Australia, I participated in psychological first aid training, which is now proven to be incredibly beneficial for my social work role at the moment. Not only did I acquire such a valuable skill, but also the certificate that I've got from that training also helped me. It served as a evidence for my extra training, enhancing my, affordability and demonstrating my dedication to, professional development. I think to me, volunteering goes beyond performing good deeds. I think it involved connecting with different people, being receptive to different perceptions, and especially when I was a social work student, I went on that deployment, and I thought to myself, apart from those conferences that AASW hosts, where else better than going to volunteer, that you can see the people, you can meet the people that have the same vision with you, that that have experience. I think volunteer is really good in that sense. If it gives me invaluable opportunity to meet like people who have the same vision, who was in different roles in the field, in the sector, and they can they share with me the experience that they have in the sector, which was really good. And through this interaction, I gain insights into different perspective, and kind of enrich my understanding of the sector itself. And I think with especially the people that goes through social work or community or aged care, I really for the people that I know, I always recommend them to go volunteer, because that is the best place for you to make connection with the people who was in the roles that you're looking at, or who have the experience that you would want to hear and listen. I think that is it for me.
Thanks, Tu and Hamid. Nivi, I thought we'll just go to the Q&A. I'm going to pop some information on how to become a volunteer or how to become a participant in the chat, but you could also share these resources with the participant towards the end.
For sure,
Okay.
yes. When we post this on our website, we will also have all the resources mentioned in the webinar as well, listed as links, so that you can access them later on as well, and also share with friends.
Awesome. So do we have any questions?
We don't have any questions yet from the participants. So in case if any of you have any questions, now would be the time to pop them in. I actually have a question to start off with for you, Katie. If you can give a bit more information about like time commitments and how how much that's one thing that probably students are thinking about. They do have a lot of study to be done as well. So if you can give a bit more information about how much commitment would be required if they would want to volunteer for ARC.
Yeah, so it varies by program, and Ali, please go off mute if you want to talk about the time commitment volunteering with the MSP team. Yeah, I've seen Ali gone up. Yeah, do you want to talk about the time commitment for MSP?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, sure. I can just jump in before you talk about emergency services. So I think, look, it just sort of varies. If I think about the Connected Women's program, and probably just the other point, I was just writing it in the chat, is that if you go onto the online site, you might not see any positions right at the moment for the migrant support programs, but please get in touch with us personally, and we can chat through a few things with you. Just at the moment, but yeah, there's definitely, we're in need, but we just probably need to maybe chat personally with people around what they might be interested in. So with the Connected Women's program, as I think Katie said earlier, it can really vary. If people have got time to come and be part of that particular program, for example, it's like a 3-hour, 2.5, 3-hour session, for example, like once a week. If people have more time or even less time, we are also looking for people maybe to come and be part of more within the office, some more sort of admin volunteering, where you might be in the office and helping like plan, maybe putting some data, putting data into the system, that sort of thing. But I suppose it's a way of, if you're wanting sort of experience in community development, and I think all those beautiful skills that both Hamid and Ju talked about in regards to what you're going to be getting, just connecting with people, being in an office environment, it can really sort of set you up, going forward with getting other positions. Having maybe the coordinator, the volunteer coordinator as a referee for you can be invaluable as well. And as you've probably discovered in a small state like Tassie, a lot of the time it is who you know when you are trying to get positions or trying to get your foot in the door somewhere. So I suppose I've seen that, volunteers that have come through our programs, in some ways, there's just the connections that they've made have actually really contributed to them getting their actual employment roles when they've ended up with those, which majority of volunteers that come through, of course, end up in that situation. So yeah, look, it's quite varied, but again, I suppose that's why I'd encourage, if anyone is interested, just to sort of reach out personally, because again, just reinforcing Katie's words, it very much is around, we understand that people have busy lives, you're coming in as a volunteer, so we try and work around people as much as possible. Okay, yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, definitely
Sorry
agree.
to hop in again, just gonna waste another second here. I just want to add on to the question Nivi raised around the times and what students gonna, because that's a really big one. Getting into the, like, as an volunteer, I had the same mindset and same questions around, but what actually you actually, when you get in, you actually get a rostering system, and you get an opportunity to put your availability in there however you feel like, and there is no, like, you don't have to fill these boxes, like, it's pretty flexible. That's what I personally use, even though I was in 2 different programs at the same time. That's, and the other part is, like, it's not about if you made a commitment and if you cannot make it, that's also possible. So it's just a matter of you just raising your hand and you saying, yes, I'm there, and if you make it, you make it. Otherwise, there's nothing to lose. It's always a win-win. So yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, seconding what Hamid has to say, our rostering system is quite great in doing that. So if you mark yourself as unavailable, you won't be able to contact it for shifts or activities as well. So we keep you in the loop with all the upcoming activities, and you tell me. So we're not going to harass you, but you tell me, hey, Katie, I'm going to be available, happy to do this shift or happy to do that. But also please do keep in mind, if UTAS get flooded tomorrow, you can't go to school anyway. So it's I think what I'm getting to is that natural disaster impact everybody, and yes, just so even if it's just one shift that you could give us, that would be one shift really great that you can go and support the community. Yeah, one shift is about 7.5 hours. I've got 2 on the line.
Yeah, I just want to add on to that because my experience with the roster is really easy because you can go in and they can actually lock on. Okay, so there's a day's event in day shift, and you can just go into it and then tell them that okay, you're available for this shift. So it's not like when you said you commit to it, you have to commit to it. It's really flexible. And also, I just want to add in one more point I forgot to say in terms of employment. There are a lot of employer who require experience, and I think that when people ask for experience, but no one wants to hire the people with no experience. So I think volunteering is the best way to get experience in this sector. Yeah, I just want to add in that.
Yeah, and I have done a lot of references for our volunteers who I know and work with personally. That and I'm sure other coordinator will be willing to and open if you work with them as well. So yeah, that's about it, maybe.
Yeah, so just to add in, the other one is pretty much when you into that study environment and into that early stage of getting your foot in some way, you really need to have a bit of exposure of 365 these extra tools. So when you actually enroll yourself as a volunteer with Red Cross, what you actually get is not about I've got one person who can give a reference check. It's like a lot more to do. So what you get, the flexibility of time, plus you will be getting a certification if there would be anything you've been part of, plus there might be an opportunity to attend all those extra trainings which are pretty much paid outdoor, but you get that while you are being part of the program if there is any possibility. And the big one I would say for the students who like the international students or domestic students who really wanted to get in the early stage of their life and never used these tools, pretty much really famous around in the office environment, 365, getting your head around about these online portals and the rostering system and all these things. You get a chance to actually have, you will be signing to, you will be I think given a learning portal as well and the rostering portal and 2 3 different portals, plus your accounts being set up. That's another benefit you can have while just registering yourself as a volunteer if you get an opportunity. So yeah.
Great. Thank you all. Thank you so much for answering the question. We don't have any other questions from the audience, but if any of you do have any queries, have a think about, what's been said. Of course, the presentation, Katie, if you're happy to share the presentation with me, I will also upload that with our resources on our website when we put the webinar recording on, so you can have a look at that. And of course, if you have a look at the chat box now, you have the email ID, how you can reach out to ARC TAS volunteer@redcross.org.au. So thank you so much. Thanks, Katie, Ali, too, and Hamid for joining us today, because I know that a lot of new students have come into TASI just last month, and many of them, volunteering has different meanings in different, cultures and different countries, and it's such a big thing. It's a great opportunity to be involved and, be together with the community. And of course, it helps you and also helps the community around you, and especially in a small state like Tasmania, it's invaluable. So it was great to have you on board and explain to the students about what opportunities are available and what support is available to them. So thanks again. And and to all the attendees, as I mentioned before, the recording will be available. So please share it with your friends who couldn't make it, and reach out to us at StudyTAS or ARC if you have any questions, and if you want to, join their cause and help out and volunteer, or even get in touch with them to make use of their resources. Thanks, everyone. So have a great night, and we will all see you at another webinar very soon. Thank you.
Thank you.